Hello and welcome to the communication unit. We're working on the reading, learning outcome, and today we're going to be looking at the purpose and readership of a variety of different texts. As you can see, we've got quite a few here, so let's have a look at them and see if we can work out what the purpose of the text is and who the likely reader is. So I've got a couple of books here to look at. First of all, this one should be familiar. It's The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Been made into a film, it's highly entertaining, therefore its purpose is to entertain. And when we talk about who might read this book, as an adult I would still read it, but I think it's mainly aimed at older children, so maybe around about 12 years and up if they're reading it on their own, because some of the words in it are a wee bit difficult to understand and some of the themes are maybe a little bit gory, shall we say. But it's a lovely book, it's got illustrations in it as well, which people will find engaging and entertaining. So the purpose of this book is to entertain. Okay. We have another book here, and its purpose is to entertain as well. It's a graphic novel, and a graphic novel is like a cartoon, but it's a whole book. Really entertaining, a good read. This one's called Preacher, and maybe you've seen it's been made into a series on Netflix. You can tell straight away that it's not for children, because if you have a look at the front cover, you can see there's a gun, there is some whiskey there, there's been some gambling going on, and if you know anything about Preacher, this character here is a vampire, and that looks suspiciously like a pint of blood that he has. So I would say that this would be a late teen and certainly adult readership for this book, but nevertheless entertaining, and its purpose is to entertain. Let's have a look at another. Okay, this is a more serious book here. This is called Mastering Audio by Bob Katz. It's the art and the science, it says. So you know from the title straight away that this is maybe a more complex book for a more serious reader. This book basically is going to teach you techniques and tips to do with mastering music. So the readership is likely to be people who are interested in music, maybe even people who are already working in the music industry, to improve their skills when working with electronic music. I have another book over here. Okay, this is the Swedish phrase book and dictionary. Again, the purpose of this book is to educate. You're going to learn how to speak Swedish. Who's going to want to have a read of this book? Somebody who's maybe travelling to Sweden, maybe somebody who lives in Sweden. I read some information recently that told me on Duolingo, which is a language learning app, the most popular language was Swedish, being learned by refugees in Sweden. So yeah, this book's purpose is to educate you and help you to speak the Swedish language. So could be a tourist, could be someone living in Sweden, could be someone just trying to improve their language skills. So let's look at another. A favourite of mine, this is Mary Berry's Baking Bible, and it's full of recipes to make the most fantastic cakes. The purpose of this book, well, it's full of instructions. So if we think about the word instruction, the purpose of this book is to instruct the reader as to how to make some of the cakes in the book. And the type of person who would want to read this maybe be anybody who's interested in baking or cooking, and the age range could be as young as 8 up to, 90, who knows. Anybody who's interested in baking would be interested in this book. And as I say, the purpose of it is to instruct you as to how to make Mary's fabulous cakes. Now then, this is an interesting book. It's called Fast Food Nation, and it's by Eric Schlosser, who's an investigative journalist. He investigated the fast food industry all around the world and looked at its impact upon different industries and sectors and people's lives. I would say after reading this book that the purpose of it is to persuade. I found that the book was against the fast food industry, and so it was putting forward a negative message which persuaded me that maybe fast food was not something that I would be indulging in. It's a really interesting book. The guy's done his research. After all, he's an investigative journalist and he's won awards before. So the readership for this one could be quite mixed. It could be people who really don't like fast food and are against it in principle. It could be people who just see the front cover and think, oh, it's about fast food. I like fast food. I'm interested. They might pick up and buy it and read it. Probably quite a well-educated reader as well, because some of the language in it is a little bit more complex. However, it is quite accessible, so it probably has quite a broad readership. Interesting book, but definitely I feel to persuade you, and that's the purpose of this book. Okay, let's put that up there. Here we have something that everybody will recognise. It's a newspaper, and this one's a tabloid newspaper, and you can tell that because it doesn't have a lot of text on it. It has big headlines which attract your attention, and it has a fair bit of colour as well and some pictures. The purpose of a tabloid newspaper is to give you information. It's how the reader keeps up to date with day-to-day news, because sometimes it can be sensationalised in a tabloid newspaper compared to a broadsheet like maybe the Times, which gives much more detail and is more serious in tone. However, both newspapers do try to inform the reader about events that are going on and provide information. Occasionally you do get opinion pieces in newspapers, and obviously those are to try and persuade you, but on the whole, the purpose of a newspaper, be it a tabloid or a broadsheet, is to inform. The broadsheet, probably a more well-educated reader would read a broadsheet. There's a lot more text in a broadsheet, but your everyday person of an average education would read a tabloid newspaper just to get the information quickly and without having to read a lot of text. So that's the purpose and the readership of a newspaper. I'll put that one up there. Okay, so hopefully that's giving you a little bit of an idea about how different publications have different purposes. We've looked at entertaining, we've looked at persuading, we've looked at the purpose to educate and to inform and to instruct. There are other purposes out there which you'll find in the handout which follows this video, but those are some of the main ones. The readership as well you can work out by looking at some of the pictures, looking at the complexity of the language and how much text there is in the publication. You just have to look for the clues and you can work it out. And you can also maybe do a search. There's a good website called YouGov Profiler Lite, which gives you profiles of the typical readers of different newspapers and magazines. Anyway, that's all for this week. I hope that's helped you in your studies, and we'll see you next time.